phone is that? That is a OnePlus 12. So that one I'm running right now is the Google long video format company that starts with the word you and it ends in the word tube. And we don't ever say those words together on TikTok because TikTok doesn't like that. We have an echo. Does anybody else have an echo? Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I need a tie. Should I put on a tie? Let's put on a tie. What do you think? A single Windsor? A double Windsor? What kind of tie should we be doing here? I've always been a fan of double Windsors. Let's do a double Windsor, shall we? Oh, people going single immediately. I like the giant tie, the double Windsor. I just think it's such a fun knot. Somebody else agrees, the double Windsor? Occasionally, Ross, occasionally. I do like a nice big knot. So this is a nice double Windsor. Look at that. Did I go too long? I think I went a little too long, so we should adjust it, shouldn't we? Let's go just a little bit shorter. It's weird doing it in the camera instead of the mirror. I usually do this in a mirror. I thought it would be fun to put my tie on camera this time. So just a little bit shorter. There we go. You've been doing leather bow ties. Bow ties are cool. My favorite Doctor Who is without a doubt the best one of all, Matt Smith. And he loved his bow ties. Don't worry, it's the privilege of a beautiful lady to keep us all waiting anxiously for her arrival. And she is exercising that privilege right now. There we go. Just like that. We're going to be starting our story in about 25 minutes. So if you're seeing this on a recording later, you can always skip ahead 25 minutes and get to the part where we read, but you'll miss out on some of our delightful conversations. My fence isn't level, you drove by. Which fence isn't level? I have several fences. Some of my fences are level, some of my fences are not. You can find it on the tube. You just go to my name, Shane is Great. Just look for that on the tube and you will find me. Welcome in. Tonight we're going to be reading Varney the Vampire. This is a classic vampire story 50 years older than Dracula. 50 years older than Dracula. This is the story that Bram Stoker would have grown up with. This inspired more about vampires than probably anything else in English literature, and it's incredible. It even involves, like Dracula starts with Dracula trying to buy real estate. This one follows Varney as he's trying to buy a property in England, Bannerworth Hall, and we've been joining him on this journey every week. So if you join us every Wednesday evening, 7 Central, we will be reading classic vampire stories. Last year we did Dracula, we did Carmilla, we did Vampire City, which was surprising. That was like a Quentin Tarantino movie, but it was written years before Dracula as well. And of course, Dracula is a great story, don't get me wrong, but I think Varney is officially my favorite vampire. I very much enjoy Varney. I do not have any rentals in Oregon. So Varney was a series of penny dreadfuls, and that was basically like little books that people would have picked up for a penny when they were waiting on the trains or something. They would open them and read them. So they were like the precursor to comic books, and they've all been collected over several years into this novel. Don't worry, the wifey is coming. She'll be here shortly. Everyone's so impatient. Let me remind everyone, if you tap, 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 I will perform magic every 50,000 likes. So if you like the screen, if you share this and help other people to like it, I will perform illusions for you every 50,000. And you never know what I might be doing. Hi, good evening. Do I have rentals in Washington State? No, I do not. Mine are all in Arkansas. Will my wife be dressed with style? Obviously, you don't know my wife if you think she would ever be dressed without style. I enjoy her look today very much. I think it's going to be delightful and a little different than her usual vampire story attire. Mm. Have I ever lived in California? No, I haven't lived in California. California could not contain this much awesomeness. Vampire Storytime every Wednesday at 7 Central. We read classic vampire novels. This week's tale is Varney the Vampire. And if you've never heard of Varney, he's been an incredible vampire. I enjoy him very much. Very honorable, and much like reading Frankenstein, you find the monster is the humans. I feel like some of the people being cruel to Varney might be more the monster than he is. My favorite vampire movie is Lost Boys. I think that one's, it's hard to argue with that. It's an 80s movie, first off, and all 80s movies are better than other movies. I mean, just pick a year in the 80s, like 1985, right in the middle, and you're going to have what? Back to the Future, you're going to have The Last Dragon, you're going to have probably an Indiana Jones movie. I bet we had a Star Wars movie that year that was real, like good Star Wars movies, not the new ones. Um, like, try to name 5 bad 80s movies. It's easy in any other decade, but try to name 5 bad 80s movies. Interview with the Vampire was good. Dracula, that was a good one. We all enjoyed Dracula, of course. There are many good ones. I enjoy some from the 60s and 70s. There's one called Milton that was kind of fascinating. I don't think it's a great vampire movie, but it was a lot of fun as far as vampires go. It was about a person, and he may or may not be a vampire. And your movie is kind of about, is he just mentally unhealthy in thinking he's a vampire, or is he actually a vampire? You know, that's a very fun way to present a vampire movie. Someone says, I need to pull myself together. It's okay. I don't have to pull myself together. I can remain exactly as I am. I've not seen Night Watch. I liked Let the Right One In, the original version. I think it was Norwegian. I think that was a lot better than the English one. Thank you so much. I'm glad that all the compliments, all the likes, all the shares, those things help us out a lot as creators. I don't know that I've seen Daybreakers now. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much. Hello, Roxy. Thank you for using the proper pronoun. I enjoy, From Dusk Till Dawn. Quentin Tarantino is just fun with his style, and his style of vampires was very cool. Blade was very good. Not a big fan of uh, Underworld. I think it was called Underworld. That one, not a big fan of that one. This is a Topo Chico. It's very good. I enjoyed the Dracula Unalive and Loving It that Mel Brooks put together with Leslie Nielsen playing Dracula. That was quite delightful. My favorite horror movie? The Thing. The Thing. That's a pretty good one. I enjoyed the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that one was really, really fun. The new Nosferatu was great. That was fun. Yes, I do remember Transylvania 6500. Is it 65,000? It was 65,000, I believe. Yes, I'm a carnivore. I haven't eaten a plant in more than 2 years. Welcome in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here in about 15 minutes, we'll be starting our vampire story reading. The tap, tap, taps and likes and shares, all that help us greatly, so please, please consider continuing. One of our problems with reading a story like this is it was written long before we had the censorship on TikTok and other platforms. So some of the wording in this may not be quite appropriate. Your tap, tap, taps and the heart levels and all of that help us to overcome potential language faux pas that might be made as we're reading this. Yes, we did get the brakes on today. I need to make a video about that. It was quite an adventure. Normally brakes are like a 45-minute to an hour type job. Ugh. Yes, I was bitten by a bat about 13, 14 years ago around Halloween. I was having a Halloween party and someone had given me a bat that they had captured in a cage, and I thought it would be fun to take care of it and keep it fed during our Halloween party. We only had it for a few days, and then we were going to set it free after the party. And I was in cleaning the cage before the party, and the bat bit me right on the finger. Ever since then, people have seen me to be somewhat of a vampire. Started a little bit at first, and over time, I've become more and more vampiric, I suppose, in people's eyes. At first, I'd be like, no, I'm not a vampire. No, I'm not a vampire. And at some point, you just get tired of arguing with people, and here I am. I've definitely enjoyed some blood a time or two. I do not eat garlic. I don't eat any plants at all. Billy, you have a very important question for me. I can't imagine what it could be. What's the question, Billy? My vitals have proven to be quite good. Billy asks if I oiled up today. Of course, Billy. Why would I not oil up? It's a day that ends in Y. The best vampire book. Dracula is hard to beat. Dracula is very good. I think Vampire City had the most original vampires that we've read. But I would say that the one we're reading right now, Varney the Vampire, I think this is my favorite. This is amazing. So no, I wouldn't have gotten rabies from the bat. Rabies, unalive bat, like if a bat gets rabies, it only lives for a few hours to maybe a day. And that bat had been in captivity for several days leading up to the bite. There's no way that a bat would have lived that long with rabies. Bats are very short-lived if they're rabid. The only reason why it bit me at all was because I startled it. If I ate too much garlic, it would definitely hurt me. It would not be healthy. I don't want to eat garlic. The little tiny bat that I had could not have lived 10 to 12 days with rabies. That was not going to be a thing that happened. You got bit by a rabid bat that was your friend's pet for 3 months. I'm sure your friend had a rabid bat for 3 months. I'm sure that was a thing. It's always amazing how many experts we have on the internet, isn't it? My fence is cricked. My fence is cricked. I don't understand what you mean by that comment. Hello. I will tell the story of the tire in a video. I think I need to make a video about the tire. So this bat had contact with other bats that then got rabies. Well, that's a totally different thing. I am not a Buddhist. How did I get into real estate? The only way to get into real estate is to get bitten by a realtor and then be buried with that realtor in a coffin. Then the next day you'll arise a realtor yourself. I'm not actually a realtor. I got into real estate by playing a board game called Cash Flow. You can find it on my TikTok showcase. It's amazing. It costs about $80. That's what it cost. I literally had no intention of going into real estate investing. I came home from work one day. My wife had bought this game. And I thought, what? You spent $80 on this game? And she said, yeah, I saw it on a podcast. And they said it would help us with money. And I'm like, I'm too smart to need to play a game to get us help with money. We'll figure it out. And she's like, oh, come on, let's just play it. And I said, fine, we'll play the game. So we play it, and about 15 to 20 minutes into the game, it reprograms my whole brain. And I decide the only thing that I need to do is real estate in life. And the next morning I called my bank, and we had our first house 6, maybe 8 weeks later. And I've never looked back. So that game would have been worth $10,000, $20,000 to me. $80 was a great price for it. And once again, my wife was correct, which happens more often than I care to admit as a man. Actually, I'm proud of my wife when she's correct. You took some of my tips and you got 5 credit cards so I can increase my number of on-time payments. Congratulations. Has it helped your credit score? Or is it just like very recent that this has happened? Hello, Ashley. Oh, God. She looks stunning. You're about to see her in her full pleated skirt. Lori, look at her.
Here she comes, walking down the street. Hey, hey, we're the monkeys. People say we monkey around.
Thank you, darling, for gracing us with your presence.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
Do I need to turn the air off for you to survive?
Right now I'm okay.
All right. Well, you just
I
keep me
reserve the
posted.
right to turn it off, though.
I'll allow it.
Did you just kiss my head?
Yes.
Aw, he's so sweet.
What do you think life would be like if you guys didn't find each other? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want to think about that. That's a terrible thing to think about.
So I did do a video today of a get ready with me. We'll probably publish it in the next couple of days. But today's fit is pastel goth lovecore.
It has a bunny on it.
It does have a bunny.
Someday she'll have to read Benicula to you. One of these days for Vampire Story Night, we'll do a Benicula.
We'll do Benicula. That'll be amazing.
Yes, it's about a vampire bunny.
Benicula's great. How old were we when we met? I think I was 21.
Colton says that I remind him of a wrestler named Bret Hart. That's strange. I've never heard that before.
I will say hello from my TikTok account. One of the things that he will do during the time when I'm reading is he will answer questions from people during that time.
What martial arts do I do? I've done ITF, Jiu-Jitsu, some Sambo, I've done some Muay Thai, I've done Tang Soo Do. I've done several different martial arts over 35 years. How did we meet? Good question. So she was dating my
You
roommate.
can follow me if you wanna.
Yeah.
Except, my people on my other thing,
Yeah,
the red play button app.
Yeah, it'll be
hi.
impossible to be able to take care of everybody here.
But I am on that too.
Yes, you can find her there.
Mwah. I can't publish my roller skating videos to the red play button app because the
Music,
music in the skate rink
Yeah.
doesn't let me.
the copyright infringement police will always be on her. We've been together for 24 years. I'm a good father for
Married
helping my
23
son.
years.
Sometimes I feel like a good father, and sometimes I don't. And I think that's the nature of having young adults.
Did you tell them you're chasing the tire story?
I told them that earlier, but I haven't told them on this particular live about I had to chase a tire down the road today. It's something that we will be working on. Someone says you can post it as shorts on the Red app. Oh,
Even with the background music?
maybe. That person may know more than us.
Maybe. Thank you for the heads up. The knowledge is good.
We have
So,
adults.
I like the sign language word for learn because you have the thing you're wanting to learn, right? And so you have like you're picking it up and you're putting it into your brain.
If only it were that easy, right?
Yeah. Nope, we are not in an open relationship. And hello, Australia.
What happened with the Section 8? I got a phone call after I left that said I needed to fill out some paperwork and then wait, which is more or less exactly what they said I would have to do, is fill out paperwork and wait, and it could take weeks. Yeah.
This is a never-ending story, Nicholas.
The brake pads are fixed. I ended up at one point having to chase a tire down the road on a busy street after it came off the truck while I was driving. That was surprising. We've had a fun time. Like I've changed brake pads many times and never had an experience quite like that. There will be a video that I will have to do to follow up with that.
Have a lot open there.
I have no idea how much I make in real estate every month. All the money that I make gets reinvested into buying properties. So we're in a growth phase. If we make extra money, it goes towards more properties. You spend time with that if you're building wealth, as you spend money. Like my amount of money that I spend on things is entirely devoted to our food, a tiny amount of entertainment, and taking care of our bills. That's what we spend money on. We have a very modest, very teeny lifestyle. All the extra money that we make on our real estate gets invested.
I actually have a tire story. When I was in high school, first car, and I was going to help at my church with the fireworks stand. And so I'm bebopping down the road, and there's the fireworks stand. I turn into the church parking lot, and then it's like my car stops, and I'm like, vroom, vroom, and I'm not moving. And there my youth pastor is. He comes walking up to the car with a big smile on his face, and he said, "You might as well turn off the car and get out because you aren't going anywhere. Your tire and your CV joint went way over there." So I was like, "Oh, surprise."
The thoughts on the Load common stock offering. So the only stock I'm invested in is Load. And they just made an offering that several people weren't expecting, which kind of has shocked the price and brought the price downward. And I think they got a low price on their offering. Part of that is probably due to limited financing being available for companies right now due to the current political climate, but that's neither here nor there. That is not a problem though. Like they're investing it in a facility, they're building, that's part of the nature of a growth company, and the facility is going to be one of the largest silver producing sites in the United States. So they're literally making something that prints money. I don't mind them taking shares in order to build a money printing machine.
So we were asked how many properties do we have? Less than 20 still. Is there a way to make the words bigger on this one?
I don't know how, if there is.
Mm.
I tried, I couldn't figure it out.
Can we move them closer?
I don't know.
So we can see.
We're trying to figure out how to do two at once. We're getting into some
That
weird
sounds
things.
naughty.
I know, it sounds so naughty. But it's been fun in the past, right?
He looks like the realtor from Casper? Oh, I haven't seen that movie in ages.
I don't know how to make it any bigger, so you're just going to have to lean in if you want to
Yeah,
read.
how did we meet? That's a big story that I don't know that we have time for. We're going to be reading soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is Vampire Story Night. Well, his name's not Shawn Michaels.
Or Bret Hart. I get called that occasionally.
Wait, why not have 5? What do you mean, like
So,
5 quality
This is
properties?
this is a great question. So somebody here is asking, why not have 5 quality properties versus 20 in disrepair? So different people have different terms of quality, first off, but we're going to assume, why not have 5 brand new or newish houses that look like modern homes instead of having 20 homes that are dated in age to some degree or have older qualities? One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking that things that look... Oh, go ahead.
I want to say that I watched the inspector guy that inspects brand new homes.
Right.
And just so you know, even brand new homes are going to have things that you are going to have to fix. They are going to have problems. So just because a home is older doesn't
Right.
make it a bad home.
Yeah, so our objective is not to make a home that looks like a brand new home. Our objective is to make a home that looks beautiful and brings out the qualities within that home. And we try to find homes with very good structures, very good things about them, and then bring those out. But that said, I can house 20 families instead of housing 5 families in brand new construction builds. I can actually make a profit on 20 families paying rent versus making a loss on 5 families paying rent, which would mean I wouldn't be able to continue to buy houses because I'm putting all my money into these homes without making a profit off of
Oh,
them.
and you are absolutely right. The bones to the houses were more solid and have higher tensile strength than the wood that we are using now.
Because
The
we use
old
different
growth,
wood.
the old growth wood, which we don't want to use anymore because we know that there's not enough of that left. So we use the new wood that comes out of the forest. We grow it with very extremely fast growing trees, and it just isn't as strong as that old growth forest that we previously used.
There's a mental thing that marketing companies have spent a lot of time convincing you all is the reality, and it is not. And that is that brand new is better than older. That whatever's the newest is going to be the best. And that's not always the case. Now, some new things are great. I like my new phone. My OnePlus 13 when I got it this year was better than my OnePlus 12. Some things are better, some things are improved, but not everything that's newer is better. There is quality sometimes in age, and there's something about timelessness that's incredible. And I'm going to give you a thought exercise about this, and then we're going to get to our vampire story. So everybody listen in. I want you to imagine the movie Back to the Future. Go ahead, dear. You have something you want to say?
No, we don't live in a very fancy home.
Okay, so the movie Back to the Future, without further interruption on this, they went back 30 years in time. And I want you to imagine the difference between 1985 and 1955. You could tell from the clothing, you could tell from the music, you could tell from the cars, you could tell from the culture. Everything about it was totally different. It was like going to another planet. That's what made the movie interesting. And when they went 30 years in the future, they created this imagination of all these things being very different. If you picture a movie from 1985, how the people looked, and imagine a person from 1975, how everybody looked, there's a vast difference. You can look at one and immediately pick out what decade it's set in. Now imagine 20 years ago. Think about the way people dressed 20 years ago compared to today.
Is it a shirt or is it a dress?
There's not a lot different. If you watch a movie from 2001 to today, 25 years, you don't really see a vast difference in the clothing. You don't see a vast difference in the style. Things are becoming more timeless, and the reason is because we're dependent more on internet media and less on centralized controlled television and the broadcast 4 or 5 stations. They got to decide what our style was. and we're deciding that there are timeless things that look great.
1935. We have a person here that says they were born in 1935.
I
That
can
is impressive.
I can promise you it's not because it was more recent. If you ask somebody in 1995, when I was alive in 95, to look back in 1985, the difference was huge. It was a huge difference between that timetable. It is a very subtle difference now compared. All right, it's time to start our vampire story time.
She stole all your style from that age, did she? That's fun.
So we're going to be reading Varney the Vampire. We should probably do a little quick idea of where we're at. So Varney, an alleged vampire, wanted to buy Bannerworth Hall. And the people that were selling Bannerworth Hall, deciding that he was a vampire, did not want to sell him. I'm going to shut our door because they're going to be playing games downstairs.
They are a bit noisy this evening, aren't they? That'll help some.
Yes.
Our noisy family. You had a person ask if you'd be their counselor.
I would be happy to. So the vampire is interested in Bannerworth Hall. They do not want to sell to this potential vampire. They're afraid. So they decide they're going to do everything they can to stop him from buying their property. To the point of challenging him to duels, to rousing up villagers of mobs, like
A rabble rouse.
yeah, with pitchforks and torches to go after him. Literally burned his house down. And to be clear, throughout this whole time, he's been a gentleman. At the duel, he allowed the person to pew at him. He then took the bullet from his neck and offered it, like, would you like to do it again? And he fired his into the air and said, you know, now we've both done our thing. The duel is over, right? We're good, or do you want to continue? That's a very courteous way to handle it, right? Like, that's, I think, very respectful. But let's see, what do we got going on right now that's important to the part of the story we're in? Probably Charles Holland, I'm guessing.
Well, Charles Holland followed Varney
Mm-hmm.
when Varney was kind of inside Bannerworth Hall when he shouldn't have been.
Right.
And he followed Varney to where he was hiding and got Varney to tell him a little bit about his life. So, you know, he wasn't violent with Varney or anything like that. He was like, hey, bro, I want to talk.
Yeah, and he's
Tell me about yourself some. I'm not angry at you. I want to understand you. So, you know, that desire that a lot of people have. Just, I want to understand this other person because this whole situation is wild. Very, very wild. And he got a backstory of not all of Varney's life, but a big event that happened in Varney's life where Varney and Mr. Bannerworth Sr., who is no longer with us, and their antics and their accidental unaliving of a person back 20 years earlier.
and this led to them, or they were actually trying to rob this gentleman together and accidentally unalived him, which led to a tragic accident with Varney, or incident, I guess, since it wasn't an
The
accident.
tragic incident in that he was arrested
Yes.
and he was hung for, you know, being an unaliver.
Yeah, which didn't
And,
seem to stick.
It didn't stick because Varney might be a little bit special.
Might be a little unusual. So I guess we're going to find out about how unusual he is as we continue the story.
So that was the of that, and Charles had an appointment with Varney to go back and talk to him again the next evening to be able to hear the rest of the story.
Aw, that makes me think of Paul Harvey.
But we're going to go to a different part of town now. So basically, while Charles is talking to Varney, other events happen around town. While these affairs are proceeding, and when there seems every appearance of Sir Francis Varney himself quickly putting an end to some of the vexatious circumstances connected with himself and the Bannerworth family, it is necessary that we should notice an occurrence which took place at the same inn in which the Admiral had made such a scene of confusion upon the occasion of his first arrival in town. Not since the Admiral had arrived with Jack Pringle, and so disturbed the whole economy of the household, was there so much curiosity excited as on the morning following the interview with Charles Holland had had with Varney the vampire. The inn was scarcely opened when a stranger arrived, mounted on a coal-black horse, and alighting, he surrendered the bridle into the hands of a boy who happened to be at the inn door, and stalked slowly and solemnly into the building. He was tall and of a cadaverous aspect. In attire he was plainly apparelled, but there was no appearance of poverty about him. On the contrary, what he really had on was of a rich and costly character, although destitute of ornament. He sat down in the first room that presented itself and awaited the appearance of the landlord, who, upon being informed that a guest of apparently ample means and of some consequence has entered the place, hastily went to him to receive his commands. With a profusion of bows, our old friend, who had been so obsequious to Admiral Bell, entered the room, and begged to know what orders the gentleman had for him. "I presume," said the stranger in a deep, solemn voice, "I would presume that you have no objections for a few days that I shall remain in this town, to board and lodge me for a certain price which you can name to me at once." "Certainly, sir," said the landlord. "Any way you please, without wine, sir, I presume." "As you please. Make your own arrangements." "Well, sir, as we can't tell, of course, what a gentleman may drink, but when we come to consider breakfast, dinner, tea, and supper, and a bed, and all that sort of thing, and a private sitting room, I suppose, sir." "Certainly." "You would not, then, think, sir, a matter of 4 guineas a week would be too much, perhaps?" "I told you to name your own charge. Let it be 4 guineas. If you had said 8, I should have paid it." "Good God!" said the publican. "Here's a fool that I am. I beg your pardon, sir. I didn't mean you. Now I could punch me own head. Will you have breakfast at once, sir? And when shall we begin regularly, you know, sir?" "Have what?" "Oh, breakfast, sir. Breakfast, you know. Tea, coffee, cocoa, or chocolate, ham and eggs, or a bit of grilled fowl, cold sirloin or roast beef, or a red herring, or anything you like, sir." "I never take breakfast, so you may square yourself the trouble of providing anything for me." "Why, not take breakfast, sir? Not take breakfast? Would you like to take anything to drink then, sir? People say it's an odd time at 8 o'clock in the morning to drink, but for my part, I always thought that you couldn't begin a good thing too soon." "I live upon drink," said the stranger, "but you have none in the cellar that will suit me." "Indeed, sir?" No, I am certain." "Why, we've got some claret now, sir," said the landlord, "which may look like blood, and yet not be it." Like what, sir? Like what?" Begone, begone." The stranger uttered these words so peremptorily.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't say it either.
I don't know what that word is. I've never seen that one before.
That's
This is from the 1840s. Some of the words might be a little dated.
That the landlord hastily left the room, and going into his own bar, he gave himself so small a tap on the side of the head that it would not have hurt a fly, as he said, "I could punch myself into bits. I could tear my hair out by the roots," and then he pulled a little bit of his hair, so gently and tenderly that it showed what a man of discretion he was, even in the worst of all agonies of passion.
It was not permittously. It was not. No, that's a word we know. This one is one that I do not know.
Peremptorily, maybe.
Preemptorily, maybe? Yeah.
Preemptorily.
So to be preemptive. Yeah. All right.
The idea of the fella coming here paying 4 guineas a week for board and lodging, telling me that he would not have minded 8, and then not wanting any breakfast. It's enough to aggravate half a dozen saints. But what an odd fish he looks. At this moment the ulster came in, and standing at the bar, he wiped his mouth with his sleeve and said, "I suppose you'll stand a quart for that, master?" "A quart for what, you vagabond?" "A quart because I've done myself up in heaps, and a quart because I'm fit to pull myself into fiddle strings." No, because I've just put up that gentleman's horse. What gentleman's horse? Why, the big-looking fellow with the white face now in the parlor. What? Did he come on a horse, Sam? What sort of looking creature is it? You may judge of a man from the sort of horse company he keeps. Well, sir, I hardly know. It's coal black, and looks as knowing as possible. It's tried twice to kick at me, but I was down upon him and put the bucket in his way. Howsomever, I don't think it's a bad animal. As an animal, mind you, sir. Though a little bit vicious or so. Well, said the publican, as he drew the ulster half a pint instead of a quart. You're always drinking. Take that. Blow me, said the ulster. Half a pint, master. Plague take you, I can't stand parleying with you. There's the parlour bell. Perhaps after all he will have some breakfast. While the landlord was away, the ulster helped himself to a quart of the strongest ale, which, by a singular faculty that he had acquired, he poured down his throat without any effort at swallowing, holding his head back, and the jug at a little distance from his mouth. Having accomplished his feat, he reversed the jug, giving it a knowing tap with his knuckles, as though he would have signified to all the world that it was empty, and that he had accomplished what he desired. In the meantime, the landlord had made his way to the strange guest, who said to him when he came into the room, Is there not one Sir Francis Varney residing in this town?
Here I am. Oh.
The devil, thought the landlord. This is another of them. I'll bet you a guinea. Sir Francis Varney, sir, did you say? Why, sir, there was a first Sir Francis Varney, but folks seem to think how he's no better than he should be. A sort of a vampire, sir, if you know what that is. I have certainly heard of such things, but can you not tell me Varney's address? I wish to see him. Well then, sir, I cannot tell it to you, for there's really been such a commotion and such a riot about him, that he's taken himself off, I think, altogether, and we can hear nothing of him, Lord bless you, sir. But they burnt down his house and hunted him about so, that I don't think that he'll ever show his face here again. And cannot you tell me where he was last seen? That I cannot, sir. But if anybody knows anything about him, it's Mr. Henry Bannerworth, or perhaps Dr. Chillingsworth, for they have had more to do with him than anybody else. Indeed. And can you tell me the address of the former individual? Well, that I cannot, sir, for the Bannerworths have left the hall, and as for the doctor, sir, you'll see his house in High Street, with a large brass plate on the front door, so that you cannot mistake it. It's number 9 on the other side of the way. Thank you so much for the information, said the stranger, and rising he walked to the door. Before, however, he left, he turned and added, You can say, if you should be by chance meet Mr. Bannerworth, that a Hungarian nobleman wishes to speak to him concerning Sir Francis Varney, the vampire. A what, sir? A nobleman from Hungary, was the reply. The deuce, said the landlord as he looked after him. He don't seem at all hungry here, not thirsty neither. What does he mean by a nobleman from Hungary? The idea of a man talking about being hungry and not taking any breakfast. He's queering me. I'll be hanged if I stand it. Here I clearly lose 4 guineas a week, and then get made a game of besides. A nobleman indeed. I think I see him. Why, he isn't quite so big as old Stanley, the butcher. It'll do. I'll have him out when he comes back. I need to watch these old words. I'm not sure if the Q word was a good one for TikTok.
Not. So everyone welcome in. She'll sip some water and rest her voice for just a moment. Isn't she doing delightful? I started to say delicious. That's later.
Well, all of these people in the story right now are gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to speak a little lower.
So every 50,000 taps here on TikTok, I will perform some magic for you. We've done one illusion so far, so we're getting close to another one. You guys tap, 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 and I will reward you. She is incredible, and she works very, very
Thank
hard.
you.
Now we have a new Hungarian here that has this Hungarian accent that she's doing.
Well, I'm
This-
doing an accent.
It's
I'm.
close enough for us Americans. How did the brakes go? That'll be a video I'm going to have to do later. There was a moment in changing the brakes that involved me literally running after a tire on a busy street. So I guess it went chaotically, but that's okay. We lived.
And nobody was hit.
And nobody was hit. The tire did almost hit a homeless person. Yes, it was wild.
Oh, bless them. Meanwhile, the unconscious object of this soliloquy passed down High Street until he came to Dr. Chillingsworth, at whose door he knocked. Now, Mrs. Chillingsworth had been waiting the whole night for the return of the doctor, who had not yet made his appearance, and consequently that lady's temper had become acidulated to an uncommon extent, and when she heard a knock at the door, something possessed her that it could be no other than her spouse, and she prepared to give him that warm reception which she considered he had a right, as a married man, to expect after such conduct. He hasn't been home in a few days. She hurriedly filled a tolerably sized hand basin, with not the cleanest of water in the world, and then, opening the door hurriedly with one hand, she slooched the contents into the face of the intruder, exclaiming, "Now you've caught it!" "Done," said the Hungarian nobleman. And then Mrs. Chillingworth uttered a scream, for she feared that she had made a mistake. "Oh, sir, I'm very sorry, but I thought that it was my husband." "But if you did," said the stranger, "there was no occasion to drown him with a basin of soapsuds. It is your husband I want, madam, if he be Dr. Chillingsworth." "Then indeed you must go on waiting for him, sir, for he has not been to his home for a day and a night. He takes up all his time in hunting after that beastly vampire." "Ah, Sir Francis Varney, you mean?" "I do, and I'd Varney him if I caught hold of him." "Can you give me the least idea of where he can be found?" "Oh, of course I can." "Indeed, where?" said the stranger. "In some churchyard, to be sure, gobbling up with those unalived bodies." With this, Mrs. Chillingsworth shut the door with a bang that nearly flattened the Hungarian's nose with his face, and he was fain to walk away, quite convinced that there was no information to be had in that quarter. He returned to the inn, and having told the landlord that he would give a handsome reward to anyone who would discover to him the retreat of Sir Francis Varney, he shut himself up in the apartment alone, and was busy for a time writing letters. Although the sum which the stranger offered was an indefinite one, the landlord mentioned the matter across the bar to several persons, but all of them shook their heads, believing it to be very perilous of an adventure indeed to have anything to do with so troublesome a subject as Sir Francis Varney. As the day advanced, however, a young lad presented himself and asked to see the gentleman who had been inquiring for Varney. The landlord severely questioned and cross-questioned him, with the hope of discovering if he had any information, but the boy was quite obdurate, and would speak to no one but the person who had offered the reward, so that mine host was compelled to take him to the Hungarian nobleman, who as yet had neither eaten nor drunk in the house. That's interesting, the wording. So that mine host, that almost sounds Germanic, doesn't it?
Almost.
But of course, part of the English language does borrow from German. I think we have similar grammatical structure.
Similar, yes.
The boy wore upon his countenance the very expression of juvenile cunning, and when the stranger asked him if he really was in possession of any information concerning the retreat of Sir Francis Varney, he said, "Oh, I can tell you where he is, but what are you going to give?" "What sum do you require?" said the stranger. "A whole half-crown." "It is yours, and if your information prove correct, come tomorrow and I will add another to it, always provided likewise you keep the secret from anyone else." "Oh, trust me for that," said the boy. "I live with my grandmother, and she's precious old and has got a cottage. We sell milk and cakes and sticky stuff and pennywinkles and a goodly collection." "A goodly collection indeed. Go on." "Well, sir, this morning there comes a man with a bottle, and he buys a bottle full of milk and a loaf, and I saw him, and I knew that it was Varney the vampire." "You followed him?" "Of course I did, sir, and he's staying at the house that's to let down the lane round the corner by Mr. Biggs, and past Lee's garden, leaving old Stanley Stacks on your right hand, and so cutting on till you come to the Grant's meadow, where you'll see old Manhunter's brick field staring of you in the face, and after that—" "Peace, peace. You shall yourself conduct me. Come to this place at sunset by secret, and probably 10 times the reward you have already received may be yours," said the stranger. "What? 10 half-crowns?" "Yes, I will keep my word with you." "What a go! I know what I'll do. I'll sit up as a showman, and what a glorious treat it'll be to peep through one of those holes all day myself, and to get somebody to pull the strings up and down, and when I'm tired of that, I can blaze away on the trumpet like 1 o'clock. I think I see me. Here, you sees the Duke of Marlborough, a whopping of everybody, and here you see the Frenchman flying about like a parched peas in a stepper." In other words, the young man was very excited about what he was going to do with his money. We're going to take a break for a moment. That's the end of this chapter.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for the gifts, everyone. You guys are so sweet and kind and helpful. We very much appreciate you all joining us. So she'll rest her voice. This new character from Hungary is definitely pushing her to the limits of her many voices that she's already had. She has very nice eyes. They look amazing.
Thank you. We look like movie stars. You're so sweet.
You guys are so kind. Every 50,000, we're almost to 100,000, which will be our next magic trick. I will perform magic. So tap, tap, tap on the screen and I will reward you. I think we'll do my famous card trick this time. I'm the only person in the world that can do this trick. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Everyone is so kind. When I came to TikTok, I really expected to discover a lot of angry and upset people, and I found all the best people on the planet. I feel like there are so many great people. So many people willing to help, show up on bicycles, like riding over when they don't even have cars to try to help me with something. It truly is an incredible community, and I thank you all for that. We did get the breaks figured out, and that's going to be a video because that's a very interesting story. I wish I had a camera going earlier for what happened to me. You will not believe it. It involved me chasing a wheel down the road. That was part of it. But I'll make a video about it soon. Make sure to follow and I'll tell you the story. We're over 100,000. All right, so I have here a deck of cards. Very simple. I'm the only person in the world that can do this. I practiced for a long time to be able to do this, but try to pay attention.
We don't drink wine.
I am going to use my tongue to flip over a card from this deck. That isn't the hardest thing to do, except I'm going to flip it over and put it back in, and then seal the box back with just my tongue. You get to pick the card. Somebody tell me a card.
So the King of Diamonds?
Mm-hmm.
The King of Diamonds. Ooh.
Mm.
He's gonna take out the King of Diamonds.
Mm.
Congratulations.
Mm.
How did we meet? He was setting up for a concert, but when we really got to know each other, I was dating his roommate.
This is rough.
Lost
See if you
Boys.
can find the King of Diamonds in this.
Lost Boys would be the favorite vampire movie.
Do you see it? You see it anywhere? Trying to spread them out here so you can get a nice spread. Look at this. See this?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be cool if this were the King of Diamonds? Because I think it would be
the other camera
very
too.
cool if that were the King of Diamonds.
Gotta show them both.
Most guys can't even find the bean, right, ladies?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yes, I own all the homes we rent. We started with a board game called Cash Flow. You can find it on my TikTok showcase.
Mm-hmm.
We spent $80. My wife spent $80 on it, and I remember complaining and saying, "Oh, that's too much." And I wish we would have played that game 10 years sooner. It changed our lives.
Yes, we are streaming on 2 platforms right now, so we have 2 cameras set up.
I can promise you the mod says the same card. That is not how the trick is done. If you follow us, we might do the trick again, and somebody else will pick the card. And that was not a mod that picked that card. I think that's the first time I can remember doing the King of Diamonds, at least in
that's what I was thinking.
months. It's very rare anybody picks kings. People pick queens all the time, but kings are rarely picked. I was excited when somebody picked a king.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
You're awesome, Kelly. Favorite vampire novel? This has quickly become our favorite.
This one has so many delightful elements to it, and Varney is such a respectful gentleman.
We didn't know that this was going to be our favorite when we got it, but it's long is the thing. It's very long. This is part 2.
Yes.
So we are still in part 1.
But it has been amazing.
So here's part 1. Definitely been a thing.
You can just Google my name, Austin, and you will definitely find photos of me on the image search when I was younger. We may do it again with a 5 of clubs or whatever comes up first, but I'm not going to do it instantly. You have to get to 50,000 more taps. We're 40,000 away. That is your currency. I will trade taps for magic. I think that's a fair offer.
You guys ready?
I was born ready, baby.
All right. The excited populace. There seemed now a complete lull in the proceedings as connected with Varney. We have reason to believe that the executioner who had been as solicitous as Varney to obtain undisputed possession of Bannerworth Hall has fallen a victim to the indiscriminate rage of the mob. Varney himself is a fugitive, and bound by the most solemn ties to Charles Holland, not only to communicate to him such particulars of the past as will bring satisfaction to his mind, but to abstain from any act which for the future shall exercise a disastrous influence upon the happiness of our dear Flora. Thank you so much.
Florida Bannerworth.
The doctor and the admiral, with Henry, had betaken themselves from the hall as we had recorded, and in due time reached the cottage where Flora and her mother had found a temporary refuge. Mrs. Bannerworth was up, but Flora was sleeping, and although the tidings they had to tell were of a curious and mixed nature, they would not have her disturbed to listen to them. And likewise they were rather pleased than otherwise, since they knew not exactly what had become of Charles. To think that they would probably be spared the necessity of saying that they could not account for his absence. That he had gone upon some expedition, probably dangerous, and so one which he did not wish to communicate the particulars of to his friends, lest they should make a strong attempt to dissuade him from it. They were induced to believe. But yet they had their own confidence in his courage and active intellectual resources to believe that he would come through it unscathed, and probably shortly show himself at the cottage. In this hope they were not disappointed, for in about 2 hours Charles made his appearance, but until he began to be questioned concerning his absence by the Admiral, he scarcely considered the kind of dilemma that he had put himself into by the promise of secrecy that he had given to Varney, and was a little puzzled to think of how much he might tell and how much he was bound in honor to conceal.
"Avast there!"
cried the Admiral.
"What has become of your tongue, Charles? You have been on some cruise, I'll be bound. Haul over the ship's books and tell us what has happened." I've been on an adventure," said Charles, "which I hope will be productive of beneficial results to us all. But the fact is that I have made a promise, perhaps incautiously, that I will not communicate what I know." "Phew,"
said the Admiral.
"That's awkward. But however, if a man sails under sealed instructions, there's an end of it. I remember when I was off Candia once—"
"Oh!" interposed Jack. "That was the time you trembled over the blessed binnacle in all consequence of taking too much Madeira. I remember it too. It's an out-and-out good story, that there. You took a rope's end, you know, and laid it into the bowsprit, and says you, 'Get up, you lubber,' says you, all the while a-thinking, I suppose, as it was a Long Jack Ingram, the carpenter's mate, by lying asleep. What a lark!"
"This scoundrel will be the unaliving of me,"
said the Admiral.
"and there isn't one word of truth to what he says. I never got drunk in all my life, as everybody knows. Jack's affairs are getting serious between you and I. We must part, and for good. It is a good many times that I have told you to forget the difference between the quarter-deck and the caboose. Now I'm serious, Jack. You're off the ship's books, and there's an end to you."
"Very good, then," said Jack. "I'm a-willing to leave you. Do you think that I want to keep you any longer? Goodbye, old bloke. I'll leave you to repent, and when old grim Unaliver comes for you yard arm with you, and you can't shake off his boarding tackle, you'll say, 'Well, where's old Jack Pringle?' says you. And then, what's his name? Oh, Echo you call it. Echo! I'll say it's dawned if it knows." So Jack turned upon his heel, and before the Admiral could make any reply, he left the place.
"Oh, what's that rascal up to now?" said the Admiral. "I really didn't think that he'd have taken me at me word." "Oh, then, after all, you didn't mean it, Uncle,"
said Charles.
"What's that to you, you lubber, whether I mean it or not? You sure going squab? Of course I expect everybody to desert an old hulk, rats and all. And now Jack Pringle is gone, the vagabond. Couldn't he stay and get drunk as long as he liked? Didn't he say what he pleased and do what he pleased, the mutinous thief? Didn't I say I'd run away from the Frenchmen of Cape Ushant, and didn't I put up with that?"
"But, my dear uncle, you sent him away yourself."
"I didn't, and you know I didn't. But I see how it is. You've disgusted Jack among you. A better seaman never trod the deck of a man-of-war."
"But his drunkenness, uncle."
"It's a lie. I don't believe he ever got drunk. I believe you all invented it. Jack's so good-natured, and he tumbled about just to keep you in countenance." "But his insolence, uncle. His gross insolence towards you, his inventions, his exaggerations of the truth." Avast there. None of that, Master Charlie. Jack couldn't do anything of the sort. And I means to say this. If Jack was here now, I'd stick up for him and say that he was a good seaman."
"Tip your fin, then," said Jack, darting into the room. "Do you think I'd leave you
You old darn fool. What would become of you, I wonder, if I wasn't there to take you in to dry nice? Why, you blessed old babby, what do you mean by it? Jack, you villain! Oh, go and call me a villain as much as you like. Don't you remember when the bullets were a-scuttling on our nobs? I do, Jack. Tip us your fin, old fellow. You've saved me life more than once. It's a lie. It ain't. You did, I say. You'll be darned.
And thus was the most serious misunderstanding that these two worthies ever had together made up. The real fact is that the Admiral could as little do without Jack as he could have done without food, and as for Pringle, he'd no more thought of leaving the old Commodore than of, what shall we say, forswearing rum. Jack himself could not have taken a stronger oath, but the old Admiral had suffered so much from the idea that Jack had actually left him, that although he abused him as usual often enough, he never again talked of taking him off the ship's books, and, to the credit of Jack, be it spoken, that he took no advantage of the circumstance, and only got drunk as usual, and called his master an old fool whenever it suited him. That's the end of that chapter.
That was a relatively short chapter. We're almost to 150,000 likes, which will be the next number we hit for magic. Thank you, all my wonderful TikTok followers, for tapping away. That helps us out a lot.
Oh, don't worry. This next chapter makes up for it.
Quite a long one, huh? Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for your support. We're definitely going to do a follow-up video about the tire and the brakes that we were working on yesterday. It became even more wild this morning than I could have ever imagined, and it's worth its own video. I wish I had captured it on video, because there was a moment today where I was running down a busy street in my flip-flops trying to catch a tire that was rolling down a hill towards... it's wild. I'll tell you the story in a video.
It's not every day you have to chase a tire down a busy street.
Yeah, I've never done that before in my life. Anyway. You watch our videos while laying in bed at night. Thank you so much. I really hope we inspire you guys and help you to become, more capable, or just have more self-confidence to try things. You should be doing things you don't know how to do. You should be learning and becoming uncomfortable. If you haven't been uncomfortable today, then I hope I can make you uncomfortable.
I'm going to rest my voice.
I'm not like in that way. Like in the way that you're doing something you don't know how to do. Oh, we got 150,000 likes. Let's see. What magic trick do you want me to do next? Should we do something with... it seemed like you guys weren't satisfied with the card selection last time. We did the King of Diamonds, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. So I have here my cards. I'm going to do this famous trick. I'm the only one in the world that can do it, so I'll do it for you one more time. Then we'll do different magic next time. So what I'm going to do is use my tongue to flip over a card from this deck. Just my tongue. I'll put it back in the deck. I'll seal it up, and let's see what card we do. You guys pick it out. Oh. 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 Oh.
I didn't see if that was the first one because I got sidetracked. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, you had something on your mind very clearly.
I did.
All right. 5 of Hearts. Let's see if you can find the 5 of Hearts. Lala, if this card right here is the 5 of Hearts, would that be impressive? Would it be worth a galaxy? Isn't that amazing? Most guys can't even find the bean. You should be impressed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome, Lala. Welcome in. Make sure to follow if you haven't followed. We appreciate all of you being a part of our lives here. We are adorable. Thank you. I mean, guys, I cannot tell you how incredible it is to have so many followers now. A year ago, we were just over 25,000 followers. 2 years ago, we had no followers. And to have so many people loving and helping us through life is amazing. I'm really humbled.
Are you guys ready?
I was born ready.
All right.
She's going to jump right into this.
Considerably delighted was the Hungarian, not only at the news that he had received from the boy, but as well for the cheapness of it. Probably he did not conceive it possible that the secret of the retreat of such a man as Varney could have been attained so easily. He waited with great impatience for the evening, and stirred not from the inn for several hours. Neither did he take any refreshment, notwithstanding he had made so liberal an arrangement with the landlord to be supplied.
We need to congratulate somebody. I was going to type it in, but Jesse, congratulations. Jesse says, "Hey Shane, thank you for posting the debt forgiveness video. I just paid off my largest debt."
Yay!
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I
That's
really,
wonderful.
really hope that helps you. I want all of you to be able to improve your situations and learn to use debt as a tool, not just be afraid of it like Dave Ramsey wants you to be. I want you to learn how to use it as a tool to accomplish jobs, and
Yay!
that is great. I'm proud of you. Sorry, that was worth interrupting.
It's all right. All this was a matter of great excitement and speculation in the inn, so much so indeed that the landlord sent for some of the oldest customers of his house, regular topers, who sat there every evening indulging in strong drink and pipes and tobacco. Oops, I don't know, I should have said that word.
It happens.
To ask their serious advice as to what he should do, as if it were necessary that he should do anything at all.
I love the TikTok showcase, and you guys should all check it out, the TikTok shop. She said a naughty word on TikTok. Sometimes these stories are full of words that we're not supposed to say, so make sure to tap, 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 not only for magic, but it helps us to overcome those little faux pas.
But somehow or another, these wiseacres, who assembled at the landlord's bidding and sat down with something strong before them, in the bar parlor, never once seemed to think that a man might, if he chose, come to an inn and agree to pay 4 guineas a week for board and lodging, and yet take nothing at all. Thank you. No, they could not understand it, and therefore they would not have it. It was quite monstrous that anybody should attempt to do anything so completely out of the ordinary course of proceeding. It was not to be borne, and, as in this country it happens, free and enlightened as we are, no man can commit a greater social offense than doing something his neighbor never thought of doing themselves. The Hungarian nobleman was voted a most dangerous character, and in fact, not to be put up with. That's awesome, thank you. I shouldn't have thought so much of it. Oh, pardon me. Oh, I shouldn't have thought so much of it, said the landlord. But only look at the aggravation of the thing. After I've asked him 4 guineas a week, and expected to be beaten down to 2, to be then told that he would not have cared if it had been 8. It's enough to aggravate a saint.
So the landlord has the same voice as as Jack?
I can alter it some.
It felt like the same voice. I thought we had a different voice for the landlord earlier.
Perhaps there was, but
It's okay.
I had a whole chapter in between.
I like Jack's voice. It's okay.
Well, just so you know, I based Jack's voice off of Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Ah, yeah, I could see that. I could see where you're picking that up.
At least I tried.
Yeah, picking up what you're stepping
I
in.
do adore Dick Van Dyke. He's a lovely human.
All right, we'll go with Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins.
Well, I agree there, said another. That's just what it is, and I only wondered if a man of your sagacity had not quite understood it before. Understood what? Why, that he is a vampire. He has heard of Sir Francis Varney, and that's a fact, and he's come to see him. Birds of a feather, you know, flocked together, and now we shall have 2 vampires in the town instead of 1.
The party looked rather blank at this suggestion, which indeed seemed rather uncomfortable. A very much uncomfortable probability. The landlord had just opened his mouth to make some remark when he was stopped by the violent raging of what he now called the vampire's bell. Violent ringing, excuse me, since it proceeded from the room where the Hungarian nobleman was.
Have you an almanac in the house?
Was the question of the mysterious guest.
An almanac, sir? Well, I really don't know. Let me see if I have an almanac. But perhaps then you can tell me. I was to know the moon's age.
The devil? Thought the landlord. He's a vampire and no mistake. Why, sir, as to the moon's age, it was a full moon last night, very bright and beautiful, only you could not see it for all the clouds.
A full moon last night,
said the mysterious guest, thoughtfully.
It may shine then brightly tonight, and if so, all will be well. I thank you. Leave the room.
Do you mean to say, sir, that you don't want anything to eat now?
What I want, I will order. But
you've had ordered nothing.
Then presume that I want nothing.
The discomfited landlord was obliged to leave the room, for there was no such thing as making any answer to this, and so still further confirmed in his opinion that the stranger was a vampire that came to see Sir Francis Varney from a sympathetic feeling towards him. He again reached the bar parlor.
You may depend, he said, as sure as eggs is eggs, that he's a vampire. Halloa! He's gone off. After him! After him! He thinks we suspect him. There he goes, down the high street.
The landlord ran out, and so did those who were with him. One of them carried his brandy and water in his hand, which being too hot for him to swallow all at once, he still could not think of leaving it behind. It was now getting rapidly dark, and the mysterious stranger was actually proceeding towards the lane to keep his appointment with the boy who had promised to conduct him to the hiding place of Sir Francis Varney. Pardon me.
I pardon you, in the name of the dude.
He had not proceeded far, however, before he began to suspect that he was followed, and it was evident on the instant that he altered his course, for instead of walking down the lane to where the boy was waiting for him, he went right on, and seemed desirous of making his way into the open country between the town and Bannerworth Hall. His pursuers, for they assumed that character, when they saw this became anxious to intercept him, and thinking that the greater force they had the better, they called aloud as they passed a smithy, where the man was shoeing a horse.
Jack! Borden!
Here's another vampire!
The deuce there is,
said the person who was
I'll soon settle him. Here's my wife gets no sleep of a night as it is, all owing to that Varney who has been plaguing us so long. I won't put up with.
So saying, he snatched from a hook on which it hung an old fowling piece and joined the pursuit, which now required to be conducted with some clarity, for the stranger had snuck into the open country and was getting on at a good speed. The last remnants of the twilight were fading away, and although the moon had actually risen, its rays were obscured by a number of light fleecy clouds, which, although they did not promise to be of long countenance, as yet certainly impeded the light.
Where's he going? Said the blacksmith. He seems to be making his way towards the mill stream.
No, said another. Don't you see? He's striking higher up towards the old ford, where the stepping stones are.
He is, cried the blacksmith. Run on. Don't you see he is crossing it now? Tell me, all of you, are you quite sure that he is a vampire and no mistake?
He ain't an exciseman, landlord, now is he?
The exciseman? The devil? Do you think I want to unalive the exciseman?
Very good then, there he goes, exclaimed the smith. He stopped, and just as the brisk night air blew aside the clouds from before the face of the moon, and as the stranger was crossing the slippery stones, he wheeled at him.
Oh no, at the stranger?
At the stranger.
Entirely on the suspicion that he might be a vampire.
Entirely on that.
This is discrimination, boys and girls. One of the reasons why we tell these stories is to talk about how much times have changed. And vampires can buy properties now. I own several. I openly own properties and nobody ever has an issue with it. But in this time, they would not sell Varney, Bannerworth Hall. They have a stranger come to town that isn't even a confirmed vampire in any way, form, or fashion, has never claimed to be one. And it's sad. It is truly sad.
We live in a much better time.
Yes.
How silently and sweetly the moon's rays fall upon the water, upon the meadows and upon the wood. The scenery appeared the work of enchantment, some fairyland waiting at the appearance of its inhabitants. No sound met the ear. The very wind was hushed. Nothing was there to distract the sense of sight, save the power of reflection. This, indeed, would aid the effect of such a scene. A cloudless sky, the stars all radiant with beauty, while the moon, rising higher and higher in the heavens, increasing in strength and refulgence of her light, and dimming the very stars, which seemed to grow gradually invisible, as the majesty of the Queen of Night became more and more manifest. The dark woods and the open meadows contrasted more and more strongly, like light and shade. The earth and sky were not more distinct and apart, and the rippling stream that rushed along with all the impetuously even ground. The banks are clothed with verdure. The tall sedges here and there lined the sides. Beds of bulrushes raised their heads high above all else, and threw out their round clumps of blossoms like tufts, and looked strange in the light of the moon. Here and there, too, the willows bent gracefully over the stream, and their long leaves were wafted and borne up and down by the gentler force of the stream. Below, the stream widened and ran, forming over a hard stony bottom, and near the middle is a heap of stones, of large stones that form the bed of the river.
Oh.
I have a long uvula.
You're a good thing. I love you. Are you okay?
Pardon me.
Cough to your heart's content. As always, every 50,000 likes, I will perform some magic. We're right now only 20,000 away. I'll give a reminder. You tap, tap, tap on the screen, make little hearts, and I will perform some things for you. Do you need to sip some
I
water?
tickled my own throat with my long uvula.
Yeah, some of you don't understand how well endowed my wife really is. It's pretty impressive. For those of you who wonder what a vampire is really like, show off your tongue for the boys and girls. A little bit interesting.
It tickles.
Mm-hmm.
Below, the stream widened and ran, forming over a hard stony bottom, and near the middle is a heap of stones, of large stones that form the bed of a river, from which the water has washed all away earthly particles and left them by themselves. These stones in winter could not be seen. They were all under water, and the stream washed over in a turbulent and tumultuous manner. But now, when the water was clear and low, they are many of them positively out of the water, the stream rushing around and through their intricacies, the water weeds here and there lying at the top of the stream, and blossoming beautifully. The daisy-like blossoms danced and waved gently on the moving flood. At the same time, they shone in the moonlight like fairy faces rising from the depths of the river to receive the principle of life from the moon's rays. 'Tis sweet to wander in the moonlight at such an hour, and it is sweet to look upon such a scene with an unruffled mind, and to give way to the feelings that are engendered by a walk by the riverside. See, the moon is rising higher and higher, and the shadows grow shorter and shorter. The river, which in places was altogether hidden by the tall willow trees, now gradually becomes less and less hidden, and the water is more and more lit up. The moonbeams surface, here and there appearing like changes its position and surface exposed to the light.
Your voice is so wonderful.
Thank you, dear. Such a moment, such a scene were by far too well calculated to cause the most solemn and serious emotions of the mind, and he must have been, but at best insensible, who could wander over the meadow and through grove, and yet remain untouched by the scene of poetry and romance in which he breathed and moved. At such a time, and in such a place, the world is alive with all the finer essences of mysterious life. 'Tis at such an hour that the spirits quit their secret abodes, and visit the earth, and whirl round the enchanted trees.
Everyone, real quick, if people want to come here and heckle or say something negative about me, by all means continue. You don't need to discourage them. There are many ways we can be of value to people, and sometimes just letting someone get off some steam and heckle and say, at least I'm not as weird as these two, can help them to feel better. Let them have that fun. It's okay.
However, if it gets to be really spammy,
If it gets spammy or if it's rude to one of you, that's a problem. But people can heckle me all they want to. I don't mind.
such a moment, such a scene were far too well calculated to cause the most solemn and serious emotions of the mind, and he must have been but at best insensible, who could wander over meadow and through grove, I didn't keep my space there, did I? And yet remain untouched by the scene of poetry and romance in which he breathed and moved. At such a time, and in such a place, the world is alive with all the finer essences of mysterious life. 'Tis at such an hour that the spirits quit their secret abodes, and visit the earth, and whirl around the enchanted trees. 'Tis now the spirits of earth and air dance their giddy flight from flower to flower. 'Tis now that they collect and exchange their greetings. The wood is filled with them, the meadows teem with them. The hedges at the riverside have them hidden among the deep green leaves and blades. But what is that yonder, on the stones, partially out of the water? What can it be?
Oh no.
The more it is looked at, the more it resembles the human form, and yet it is still and motionless on the hard stones. And yet it is a human form. The legs are lying in the water. The arms appear to be partially in and partially out. They seem moved by the stream now and then, but very gently. So slightly indeed that it might well be questioned if it moved at all. The moon's rays had not reached it. The bank on the opposite side of the stream was high, and some tall trees rose up and obscured the moon. But she was rising higher and higher each moment, and finally, when it has reached the tops of the trees, then the rays will reach the middle of the river, and then by degrees it will reach the stones in the river, and finally the body that lies there so still and so mysteriously. How it came, darling, make sure to show the other one as well.
Of course, of course, of course.
How it came there, it would be difficult to say. It appeared as though, when the waters were high, the body had floated down, and at the subsidence of the waters, it had been left upon the stones, and now it was exposed to view. It was strange and mysterious, and those who might look upon such a sight would feel their blood chill and their body creep to capitulate the remains of humanity in such a place, and in such a condition as that it must be in. A human life had been taken. How? Who could tell? Perhaps the accident alone was the cause of it. Perhaps someone had taken a life by violent means and thrown the body in the waters to conceal the fact and the crime. The waters had brought it down and deposited it there in the middle of the river, without any human creature being acquainted with that fact. Ah, but the moon rises, and the beams come trembling through the treetops and straggling branches, and they fall upon the opposite bank. And there lies the body midstream and in comparative darkness. By the time the river is lit up by the moon's rays, the object on the stones will be visible. Then it can be ascertained what appears now only probable, namely, is the dark object a human form or not? In the absence of light, it appears to be so, but when the flood of silver light falls upon it, it would be placed then beyond a doubt. The time is approaching. The moon each moment approaches her meridian, and each moment do the rays increase in number and in strength, while the shadows shorten. The opposite bank each moment becomes more and more distinct, and the side of the stream, the green rushes and sedges, by all degrees come full into view. Now and then a fish leaps out of the stream, and just exhibits itself, as much as to say, there are things living in the stream, and I am one of them. The moment is one of awe. The presence of that mysterious and dreadful-looking object, even while its identity remains in doubt, chills the heart. It contracts the expanding thoughts to that one object. All interest in the scene lies centered on that one point. What could it be? What else but a human body? What else could assume such a form? Oh, but see, nearly half the stream is lit by the moonbeams, struggling through the treetops, and now rising above them. The light increases, and the shadows shorten. The edge of the bed of stones now becomes lit up by the moonlight. The rippling stream, the bubbles, and the tiny spray that was caused by the rush of water against the stones seems like sparkling flashes of silver fire. Then came the moonbeams upon the body, for it was raised above the level of the water, and showed conspicuously if the moonbeams reached the body before they fell on the surrounding water. For that reason, then, it was the body presented a strange and ghastly object against a deep, dark background by which it was surrounded. However, this did not last long. The water in another minute was lit up by the moon's pale beams, and then indeed could be plainly enough seen the body of a man lying on top of the heap of stones, motionless and ghastly. The colorless hue of the moonlight gave the object a most horrific and terrible appearance. The face of the unalived man was turned towards the moon rays, and the body seemed to receive all the light that could fall upon it. It was a terrible object to look upon, and one that added a new and singular interest in the scene. The world seemed then to be composed almost exclusively of still life, and the body was no impediment to the stillness of the scene. It was, all else considered, a calm, beautiful scene, lovely in the night, gorgeous, the silvery rays that lit up the face of nature, the hill and dale, meadow and wood and river, all afforded contrasts, strong, striking, and strange. But strange and more strange than any contrast in nature was that afforded to the calm beauty of the night, and placed by the deep stillness and quietude imposed upon the mind by that motionless human body. The moon's rays now fell upon its full length. The feet were lying in the water. The head lay back, with its features turned towards the quarter of the heavens where the moon shone from. The hair floated on the shallow water, while the face and body were exposed to all influences from its raised and prominent position. The moonbeams had scarcely settled upon it, scarce a few minutes, when the body moved. Was it the water that moved it? It could not be, surely, that the moonbeams had the power of recalling life into that inanimate mass that lay there for some time still and motionless, as the very stones on which it lay. It was endued with life. The unalived man gradually rose up and leaned himself upon his elbow. He paused for a moment, like one newly recalled to life. He seemed to become assured that he did indeed live. He passed one hand through his hair, which was wet, and then rose higher into a sitting posture, and then he leaned on one hand, inclining himself towards the moon. His breast heaved with life, and a kind of deep inspiration or groan came from him as he first awoke to life, and then he seemed to pause for a few moments. He turned gradually over till his head inclined down the stream, and just below, the water deepened and ran swiftly and silently on, amid groves of trees. The vampire was revived. He awoke again to a ghastly life. He turned from the heaps of stones, and he gradually allowed himself to sink into the deep water, and then, with a loud plunge, he swam to the center of the river. And slowly and surely did he swim into the center of the river, and down the stream he went. He took long but easy strokes, for he was going downstream, and that aided him. For some distance might he be heard and seen through the openings in the trees, but he became gradually more and more indistinct, till sound and sight both ceased, and the vampire had disappeared.
We are reading Varney the Vampire. This is from the 1840s. It's 50 years older than Dracula. This would have been the inspiration for most of the things you think you know about vampires. And it has been a delightful story. We've enjoyed it very much, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. I read the parts for Varney, who has no lines tonight, so I haven't had anything to read this time.
Vampires generally do wear safety gear when they're doing construction type
Yes,
things.
so steel toes, flip-flops are appropriate. Proper color-coordinated scrunchies to protect your head. Those types of things are important. This story is very influential. It would have been, and it's been great. It's just been really great. And like many vampire stories, it's focused largely around someone trying to acquire real estate.
Mm-hmm. During the continuance of this singular scene, not one word had passed between the landlord and his companions. When the blacksmith fired his fowling piece and saw the stranger fall, apparently lifeless, upon the stepping stones that crossed the river, he became terrified at what he had done, and gazed upon the seeming lifeless form with a face on which the utmost horror was depicted. They all seemed transfixed to the spot, and although each would have given worlds to move away, a kind of nightmare seemed to possess them, which stunned all their faculties and brought over them a torpidity from which they found it impossible to arouse themselves. But when the apparently unalived man moved again, and when finally the body which appeared so destitute of life rolled into the stream and floated away with the tide, their fright might be considered to have reached its climax. The absence of the body, however, had seemingly at all events the effect of releasing them from the mental and physical thraldom in which they were, and they were enabled then to move from the spot, which they did immediately, making their way towards town with great speed. As they got near, they held a sort of council of war as to what they should do under the circumstances, the result of which was that they came to a conclusion to keep all that they had done and seen to themselves. For if they did not, they might be called upon for some very troublesome explanations concerning the fate of the Hungarian noblemen, who they had taken upon themselves to believe the vampire, and to pew accordingly without taking the trouble to inquire into the legality of such an act. How such a secret was likely to be kept, when it was shared among 7 people, it is hard to say. But if it were so kept, it could only be under the pressure of a strong feeling of self-preservation. They were forced individually, of course, to account for their absences during the night at their respective homes, and how they managed to do that is best known to themselves. As to the landlord, he felt compelled to state that, having his suspicions of his guest aroused, he followed him on a walk that he proceeded to take, and he had gone so far that at length he had given up the chase and lost his own way in returning. Thus was it, then, that this affair still preserved all its mystery, with a large superadded amount of fear attendant upon it. For, if the mysterious guest were really anything supernatural, might he not come again in a much more fearful shape, and avenge the treatment that he had received? The only person who felt any disappointment in the affair, or whose expectations were not realized, was the boy, who had made the appointment with the supposed vampire at the end of the lane, and who was to have received what he considered so large a reward for pointing out the retreat of Sir Francis Varney. He waited in vain for the arrival of the Hungarian nobleman, and at last indignation got the better of him, and he walked away. Feeling that he had been jilted, he resolved to proceed to the public-house and demand the half-crowns which had been so liberally promised of him. But when he reached there, he found that the party whom he sought was not within, nor was the landlord either, for that was the precise time when that worthy individual was pursuing his guest over meadow and hill, though brake and briar, towards the stepping-stones on the river. What the boy further did on the following day, when he found that he was to reap no more benefit for adventure, we shall soon perceive. As for the landlord, he did endeavor to catch a few hours' brief repose, but as he dreamed that the Hungarian nobleman came in the likeness of a great toad and sat upon his chest, feeling like the weight of a mountain, while he, the landlord, tried to scream and cry for help, but found that he could neither do one thing nor the other, we may guess that his repose did not at all invigorate him. As he himself expressed it, he got up all of a shake, and with a strong impression that he was a very ill-used individual indeed, to have had the nightmare in the daytime. And now we will return to the cottage where the Bannerworth family were all, at all events, making themselves quite as happy as they did at their ancient mansion, in order to see what is there passing, and how Dr. Chillingworth made an effort to get up some evidence of something that the Bannerworth family knew nothing of, and therefore could not very well be expected to render him much assistance. That he did, however, make what he considered an important discovery, we shall perceive in the course of the ensuing chapter, in which it will be seen that the best hidden things will, by the merest accident, sometimes come to light, and that, too, when least expected by anyone at all connected with the result.
Is that the end of that chapter?
That is the end of that chapter.
That was a very long chapter. We're almost to 250,000 likes. I will definitely do some magic at 250,000 if you can get me there in a hurry, but we are going to have to call it a night here in a little while.
Indeed.
We have to go out hunting.
I am finished reading for the night.
It would be much more than 100 years later. This is almost 200 years ago that this story was written. 180 years ago. And this story is set about 20 years before it was written, so that would be about right. 200 years ago. That would be a plot twist, wouldn't it?
What, dear?
Oh, you poor cold thing. Someone said plot twist. I'm Varney the vampire, and the story's about me.
Perhaps we'll see.
A vampire versus Sasquatch. Who wins? Obviously the vampire wins. I mean, assuming you're talking about rock, paper, scissors, right? Sasquatches are notoriously bad at rock, paper, scissors.
I've seen Harry and the Hendersons.
Yep.
Think about how gentle Sasquatch are.
You've gotten such a chill. Let me turn off the air conditioning.
Thank you, darling. I felt as though I was in the grave.
Oh, how delightful, dear. How delightful. Let me warm you just a little. Ha ha ha, now I have her trapped. I have trapped you.
I can't put down the drink of water.
You are mine. Ah, you dear sweet thing.
It is, perhaps. My darling.
Can a person with high blood pressure switch to carnivore? That's a great question, Madison. Not only can you switch to carnivore, most of the people that I know that have high blood pressure and have gone carnivore were off the medications and had no high blood pressure within 6 months, some of them in 3 months.
A sensory disorder, I get cold easy.
She does get so chilled.
Thank you, darlings. Thank you so much. Just get a little chilly.
We're almost to 250,000. Ra says, Madison, yes, I was literally on 6 meds a day, and after 2-ish months, you're totally off of those. Congratulations, Ra.
That's wonderful.
You've been following us for so long. So we're going to do some magic here. Let me move a couple things out of the way. We're going to need our table for this one. So we just got to 250,000. This will be our final magic trick of this live. I hope you'll enjoy it. This will be my first time trying to frame this on 2 different cameras at once. So we'll see how we do.
You have garlic. Oh dear,
Oh, no.
Please do keep it away from us.
Yes,
Thank you.
garlic is definitely not encouraged for this live. So what I have here are 3 pieces of brass. Okay, you can hear that. I can show you up close so you can see. If you were here, I would let you literally put this together for me, but you're just going to have to see it. It fits snugly onto this little flange, and I can shake it around, up and down, and it just stays put. Then this piece fits on top, just like so. Then when I squeeze it, you can see that the brass stays put. No matter how I shake it or move it, that brass will be there. Then we're going to take some quarters that fit super snugly just like that. They're on one side of the brass, as you can see. So there's no way for a quarter to pass through that. Let me try to be a little bit more gentle. No matter what we do, the quarters are going to stay put. Simple, right? It's very, very simple. So let's do some magic now. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters.
We're doing great, thank you.
There we go. That's kind of weird, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You can see that the brass is still there. Let's try this again. 1, 2. Ah, I messed up. See, now there's, every once in a while you make a mistake. Oh, there's a quarter. There we go. Let's try this again. The last one. Here we go. Right up here on top. And of course the brass is still intact. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this live. We love each and every one of you and all of our followers and supporters who really do help us greatly. And thank
This
you.
next
Thank you,
Monday
thank you.
night. This next Monday night, I'll be reading another chapter of The Hobbit.
So if you haven't followed her account, make sure to follow so you can hear her reading
I'll
again.
say hello.
Thank you, everyone. She's going to make a comment so you can follow. There she is. And
If you
it's
like
pinned.
me reading to you, you'll catch me every other Monday night.
Mhm. And every Wednesday night, 7 Central, is our vampire story night. Thank you all. Bye. Oh, wrong button. That's the button I want.